Hey, I'm Holly Worton, business mindset alchemist, and I'm an outlier.
Welcome to Outlier on Air with Ever Gonzalez, the show where we interview the founders, disruptors, and mavens of the world. Learn how grit, failure, and success are all a part of the entrepreneurial journey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Outlier on Air, the podcast where we interview founders, disruptors, and mavens. As always, I'm your host, Ever Gonzalez. On today's episode, we have Holly Worton. She is the business mindset alchemist. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
We're excited to have you on for a few different reasons. Obviously, we've looked into the things that you do, the work that you're doing, the people that you're helping, and I think that your message, the work that you do, I think can help a lot of our audience members as well. So I just kind of want to get into it and dig up all the the good, the bad, and the ugly of
Great.
what you do and how you help people and all that good stuff. But before we do that, tell us where you're calling us from.
I am calling from England.
How's life in England?
It's great. Yeah, the weather's actually been fantastic lately, and I love it here. So yeah, very happy.
So as far as what you do, I know that you can you're global. You can work with just about any type of entrepreneur. But
Mhm.
with your own work that you're doing there in England, what's that like? Is there a good vibe there? Is it pro entrepreneurship, startups, that kind of vibe?
Oh yeah, definitely. Living here really, well, I moved here about 6 years ago, and it's really, really changed how I see myself as an entrepreneur and how I engage with other entrepreneurs. I lived in Latin America for 12 or 13 years and really wasn't connected to other entrepreneurs. So I felt very much kind of alone, didn't have any other connections. So coming here has really helped me to build more of an entrepreneurial community around me, both online and offline. And I didn't have that before. So it's actually great to have that kind of support and get to know other people.
Yeah, we've had several different entrepreneurs from England,
Mm,
London specifically, that are doing great. They say the vibe there is
yeah.
has changed, like you mentioned, over the last several years, and it's very pro business, very pro entrepreneurship. So good. I'm glad. It's obviously we love. We love our London and our England listeners and obviously our guests as well. So thanks for being on. Now I wanted to bring this up a little bit later, but since you brought it up, what were you doing down in South America, and what were you doing down there?
Something very different to what I'm doing today, that's for sure. Started out in Mexico. I lived in Mexico for 8 years, and then I lived in Argentina for 5 years. Started out, built a business with a business partner in Mexico. He had a little bit of land that he had bought for an incredibly cheap amount of money. We started building eco hotels. I had a little bit of money. We kind of put it together, started building, started from there. It just grew. We just kept reinvesting everything.
Nice.
And then we had lots of problems in the area that we lived in due to hurricanes and things like that. So we wanted to not have all of our eggs in one basket. So we decided to buy a separate property and open up another property down in South America. And that's how we ended up in Argentina. So, yeah.
Overall, good experience, learning experience. What was that all about?
Oh, yeah, I learned so much. I mean, I had zero entrepreneurial experience, zero hospitality experience, zero. I mean, I quit grad school to do this, and I was in grad school for Spanish American literature because I wanted to
Nice.
teach. So, super useful for an entrepreneur. I can read you some books.
But look at you now, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was amazing. I ran that business with my partner for 10 and a half years. He's still doing it on his own. I learned so much about business, online marketing, advertising, hospitality. It was learned by fire. It was a totally frustrating experience, but at the same time, so satisfying and amazing, and I loved it. It
Okay.
was just wonderful.
And with all that being said, for you specifically, you personally, what was the greatest thing you learned from your experience down there? Something that's maybe
Mm.
still kind of driving you or helping you nowadays with what you're doing today.
One of the things that most stands out to me is being in hospitality and creating an experience for people, the people that stayed with us. We also had holistic spas where we had local Mayan therapists and healers and massage therapists. And we created this just really amazing place for people to come and totally unwind and
Nice.
get out of their comfort zone, of out of what they're normally used to, because there was no electricity at the hotels. There was candlelight. So we just created this world that was so different from what people were used to, and it really gave them a place to unwind and relax and experience something totally different. So what I've taken from that is just creating an experience for people. Now I'm doing that in a very, very different way, but I love creating something that's totally unique and helping people with that unique offering.
I love it. That's great. Right. And so that kind of segues perfectly into what you're doing now. Business mindset, Alchemist. You have a podcast. You're helping women specifically, but I think what we're going to learn from you today can help all of our
Oh yeah.
listeners. But let's get into it. When you're at a party or at a conference and somebody says, "What do you do?" How do you introduce yourself?
Well, um,
They go a lot of different ways, right?
yeah, there's a lot of different ways. The thing is, one of the reasons that I market, I mean, I work with everyone, but one of the reasons I market my business most to women is because women tend to be more open about the mindset stuff that's holding them back. They tend to be more open to talking about their fears and the blocks and the stuff that's holding them back, the mindset stuff. And I find that those kinds of conversations don't come up as much with men. I know men have those issues as well. We all have them, but it seems to be easier to have that conversation with women because they're more kind of open about saying, I'm terrified of marketing myself or doing joint ventures or raising my prices or whatever the heck it is that they're struggling with. And so one of the ways that I, can have this conversation with people is that one of my biggest things was when I moved from that business in the hospitality industry to setting up my own business as a coach, I had so many blocks myself. I had all the business knowledge, all the marketing experience. I knew the practical stuff. I knew what to do, but I had all these feelings of I'm not good enough. Who's going to want to pay me for this? I need to do 1,000 more trainings before I can possibly charge for this. Like all my stuff just bubbled up to the surface. So I have 1,001 stories I can tell about my own limitations. And that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing today, because I had so much stuff to work through. And I spent so many years focusing on the practical stuff rather than the stuff that was really holding me back, which was the mindset stuff.
And so I want to get into the details of that here in just a sec. But so do you consider yourself more a coach, a consultant? Does it matter? I mean, is it one and the same?
No, I think it's different. I've trained as a coach, so I do coaching. I know how to do that. And I've trained the technique that I specifically use with clients to help them change their mindset is called Psych K. And it's not very well known, even though it's been around since the 80s. But it's kind of like NLP in the sense that it helps you change your beliefs and it works at the subconscious level. So it's super fast, super easy to use, and gets people amazing results in very little time.
Okay, so one of our listeners is listening to this episode right now. They look you up, they find you, they decide to work with you. What are they going to see? Walk us through that process.
Right. So when I work with someone, first thing I do is I send them out a questionnaire to see what it is that they're experiencing. So what's the stuff? What are they stuck with in their business? Why are they frustrated with their business? What's not working in their business? What would they rather have instead? Are they aware of any fears? Are they, what are they procrastinating on? Why do they think they're procrastinating on this stuff? That gives me loads of information to start kind of thinking about the mindset that this person is in. And then I usually work with people in a package of 3 90-minute sessions to start with. And first call, we just go straight in. I start reviewing some of the stuff in the questionnaire. We start working on the mindset stuff. So it takes, with this technique, between 2 and 5 minutes to change each single belief. So we can either create belief statements and program those into the subconscious, or we can program intentions and kind of build up an image of what they want, that kind of thing. Or we can do work to release fears and traumas from the past. It all depends on how they want to approach the specific issues.
And after the 3 sessions, what happens?
What happens is they go away, they run their business, they see what, comes up. And if they need more help, they can come back for either single sessions or I've got a 6-month package or however they choose to work with me.
How many of them?
Depends on what they need.
How many of them, or so what percentage, if you're willing to share, of them can do the 3-part session and then kind of go out into the world on their own, and how many come back for more?
Most people get enough help with those 3 sessions.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on what kind of work they're willing to do, because I say this a lot. The mindset work is really, really important, but you also need to take action, and you also need to, have certain foundations in place in your business. So I recently had this client that after one session made $46,000 in sales for 1 week to the next, which was amazing. And she was able to quit her job because she was running her business part-time. It was her dream. That was fantastic, but she had to take the action. It wasn't like I just waved my magic wand and boom, $46,000 popped into her bank account. It was the result of work that she did. But before, she was feeling stuck, and because of the work that we did to shift her mindset, she was able to bring that income in. So it's, I can do my part, but the people that I work with also have to do their part in terms of taking action.
And so with you kind of mentioned this earlier with females, with your female clientele, there are obstacles that we kind of put in front of us ourselves, or fears, or different things like that. You said that women can talk about it a little bit more easily with you, or with other coaches as well. Men, not so much. Do you think, in your experience, is it pretty even? We're just not talking about it, or is it women having that fear or those roadblocks a lot more than men?
Well, it's all a mystery,
Yeah.
since men aren't talking about it as much. I don't know. I don't know if men experience it as much as women do, and they just get on with it and do it, and they don't let their fears hold them back. Or if they have the same amount of fears and they're not talking about it. I don't know, but men seem to be able to bust through this stuff better on their own. Whereas I feel like women let that stuff hold them back so much.
Where are your clients based out of?
Oh, they could be anywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Mostly I would say US and UK, but I have had clients in Europe and Australia. Yeah, they can be all over.
Have you noticed the difference between the U.S. women, the U.K. women, Australian women, wherever they're from? It's hard to say as a group, but for the most part, on average, are there differences there in mindsets as a group?
No.
No.
No, it's all very, very similar. It's all the stuff, am I good enough? Do I value what I have to offer? Fear of visibility, that's a huge thing that I work on with people. Money blocks, money issues, fears around marketing and sales, and, again, visibility, putting themselves out there. It's all kind of universal.
Are these newer entrepreneurs that are coming to you, or have they been in business for a while? What's the range of people that work with you?
I'd say there's a mix, but I mostly work with entrepreneurs who have, been at it for maybe 3 or 4 years or less.
But that's still a long time, right?
Yeah,
To finally
yeah.
start reaching out, I guess.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
it,
think a lot of people don't realize, and this was my problem for so long. Like I said, I was taking all the actions, but not the right ones, and not enough, and not in the right way, because my mindset was holding me back. So I think a lot of people feel like they just have to kind of plod on and just do stuff rather than looking at the mindset. I think that's one of the last places people look when they're struggling or feeling stuck and frustrated with their business.
It's funny. So my background is in logistics. So I grew a company, sold it eventually. But that whole time I just focused on logistics. I had my head down, did the work. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always fun, but we just kind of got through it. Now that we kind of sold that and transitioned into entrepreneurship with the podcast, with the events, with all that other stuff we do, there's a lot of talk about coaches, right? And being able to reach out and helping, obviously, their clients. And if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, no, what? I don't need a business coach or a life coach or any of that kind of stuff. But now, a lot of very successful entrepreneurs reach out to business coaches and life coaches and different types of coaching. Has that always been the case, or are we just kind of more aware of it now?
No, I think we're definitely becoming more aware of it. I mean, coaching hasn't been around for that long.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of a new thing in terms of business tools and techniques and things that we can do to help grow our business. So I think people are becoming more open to the possibility of getting coaching and beginning to understand it more, and understanding the value and how it can help them. But I think we've still got a long ways to go.
Okay, so with all that being said, why now with the coaching? You could, with your background, you could have been doing a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
Why this?
Yeah.
Why this? Why now?
Why this, why now? Well, it took me a long time after I actually took an extended sabbatical after I quit my
Very
first
nice.
business because I
Very nice.
had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to keep doing hospitality. It was like a 24/7 job. I mean, I lived at the hotels, so yeah, it was crazy and it was really stressful. And I knew I wanted nothing like that. So I took some time off to figure out what the heck it was that I wanted to do and eventually found coaching and trained as a coach and then did all my other training and kind of flowed on from there. Um, but the reason I'm doing this is because I think it's, for people that want to run their own business, obviously entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but for people who do want that, I want to help them with the mindset stuff that, like I said, so few people are looking at. So, you can struggle or you can make it easier. And it's much better if you make it easier because it's just easier.
Can you read, when you're at a conference or when you're meeting other entrepreneurs, can you, I don't know, do they have a vibe or this feeling? Can you read them right off the bat with a conversation? Maybe not when you're asking them, the specific questions that you ask them in the questionnaire, but sometimes I feel that we kind of carry our fears
Mm.
on us where others can read it. And other times, others are very good at kind of keeping that away. When you're out there in the real world, can you see that? And do you have feelings about certain entrepreneurs?
That's an excellent question. I'd say I'm a pretty intuitive person. Like I tend to kind of read vibes pretty well from people, but I think also when people go to networking events or conferences, they've often got kind of a big mask up or a
Yeah,
wall
for
or whatever
sure.
it is that they
For
need to
sure.
protect themselves and look super professional because that's how you have to look. So I think a lot of people do a really good job at blocking those vibes. So sometimes it is easy to tell, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easier online in different conversations, online networking, Facebook groups for entrepreneurs, that kind of thing, where this kind of stuff comes out more rather than in the in-person interactions.
It's interesting because we run a lot of events and we go to a lot of events as well. And yeah, sometimes people that I've known for months, maybe even years, but never really got into that deep conversation. After a while, they're like, "Yeah, I'm struggling with this, or I this is my
Mhm.
fear," and I never would have guessed, right? And so I guess
Mhm.
some of them are very good at keeping it in, and others are not. But interesting. I've always wondered what that would look like if we were out there really kind of looking at what other people are great at and struggling at. Anyway, it's so being able to meet new people and first impressions is big on my list of things that
Mm.
I enjoy doing. Anyway, with the work that you've done, right? You're successful. You've been doing this for a little while now. Do you consider yourself a success? And what's the one thing that you're the best at?
Ooh, I like that. Do I consider myself to be a success? That's an excellent question. Um, I think I'm amazing at what I do, but I have such a bigger vision for my
Sure.
business. I don't know if I would ever I don't, I don't know if I would ever consider myself to be a success because I'm always looking kind of to bigger things that I want to do, new things that I want to do, expand in different ways. But yeah, I guess perhaps I would. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do for so many years was to write books, and I've written and released a number of books in the last few months. So that, yeah, that makes me feel pretty successful.
I bet. Good.
And
Congratulations for sure. No,
what was the second part of your question?
and what do you consider yourself to be your biggest strength or the thing that you're the best at?
I love that. I am really, really good at when I have the coaching conversation with people at the beginning of the session and throughout the session, helping them, asking them questions to help them get to the core of the issue. Because sometimes you've got a surface issue like, oh, I'm procrastinating on, doing videos or I'm afraid of doing videos or something like that. But through conversation and coaching questions and things like that, helping them dig deeper to figure out why it is that they've got those fears or blocks or limiting beliefs or stuff rather than focusing just on the surface level stuff. And when we get kind of to the deeper issue, that and we transform the beliefs around that, that is what helps us get huge transformations really fast. So that I would say is my kind of superpower.
I love it. Your superpower. With the clients that you have, do they always know what their fear is or what their stumbling block is? I mean, is it possible that they obviously have something that's going on, but they don't quite
Mhm,
understand it, or they can't,
mhm.
communicate that in a proper way to you.
Well, there's a mix. Some people, I'll give them a questionnaire, they'll fill it out in like massive paragraphs and say, "Wow, I had no idea all this stuff was going on for me. Thank you for those questions because they made me think." And then other people give me like a really short one-line sentence to each question, and they're just totally blocked. They're so blocked they can't even
Really,
see what the heck is wrong. They're just not getting the clients they used to, or they're not getting, making the money they want or whatever, but they don't know why it's it, and they're just stuck. So there's a whole range of people. Some people are very self-aware. Some people are just they're so terribly blocked they can't see anything.
let's talk about the your business right now. Your coaching. Is there a way to scale this? Is there some? Is this going to become an agency, or are you always going to be doing the more of the one-on-one type of coaching?
No, I think it's all going to be mostly one-on-one work. I want to get into doing more retreats and working with people on a group level, in addition to the one-to-one work. That's kind of a dream that I've had that I'm working up to. Yeah, online programs, that kind of thing. I've got one online program now, but and more books because I love writing.
So right now you're doing exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah, I love it. I
How does
love it.
how does
I'm
that feel?
so happy. It feels great. I mean, I work from home, which I love. Got my own office with a door. No one bothers me during the day. My husband also works from home, but he's got a separate office. We're perfect.
Yeah. So by most people's, you know, I don't know, account, you are living a very successful life. You have the freedom to do whatever you want to do for the most part, and you're doing it on your own terms. So congratulations. That's huge,
Yeah.
right? That's for a lot of people listening. I mean, that's they would love to do something like that. So that's great. Congratulations on that. Now
Thanks.
let's get to the podcast. So, right, you have a podcast. Tell us about it and what the purpose is.
Yeah. So it's called the Business Mindset Podcast, but it's changed names as I've changed my branding over the last few years.
Hmm.
I started that podcast 3 years ago because I was listening to a lot of podcasts with entrepreneurs and couldn't find any podcasts that really had a big focus on women. Like even the women podcasters they were very kind of male focused with their guests. Love men, love talking to men, but I feel like I said, women share their stuff more.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn more about the blocks and the stuff that people had because I knew I had so much stuff going on in my head that I didn't want. And so I wanted to hear more stories from women who had overcome this stuff because I just, at the time, was feeling really struggling with this. So, I was looking around, searching, asking people online. No, I couldn't find anywhere podcasts that just focused on women and their mindset stuff. And so I figured I had to start it myself. So I did.
And so that was 3 years ago. What's the plan?
Yep. Plan is for now to just keep going the way I'm going. I've changed it up a little bit. In the beginning, I was mostly just doing interviews.
Hmm.
Now I'm doing 2 interviews a month, one solo show a month, and I'm doing one kind of co-hosted episode with a friend of mine who's also a business coach.
So that's a lot of. I mean, the podcast by itself. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I love it. So it's more like play.
And so, what kind of engagement are you getting with your clients or potential clients through the podcast? I mean, are you putting this out? Obviously, you're putting out good information. People find
Yeah.
you that way, or are you using other ways to market your services?
No, I'm using other ways, definitely. I definitely put the podcast out there quite a bit, but I do a lot of social media marketing, online marketing, that kind of thing. And it's funny. So many times I've been at events in London and I've been talking to people and they've been like, your voice sounds really
Oh,
familiar.
really? Nice.
Yeah, and then it clicks for them, and they're like, "Oh, I listen to your podcast."
Oh, that's
And
great.
that's happened so many times. I love it. And there was this other time I was at a business networking meeting, and again, someone had just discovered my podcast the day before. She'd binge listened to like 6 episodes, and she ended up signing up for my program that day. So it was like, yeah, it definitely does help me with clients because people get to know me, they get to know what my style is, they get to know whether or not I might be the right person for them. Yeah, it's fantastic.
You know, it's funny. We started our own podcast about 3 years ago as well, and we have 350 episodes or so. And so we get a lot of people coming to us saying, "Hey, I want to start the podcast and I want to monetize it and all this good stuff." And we talk to them and we try to help them out. But I tell people that we don't make money on the podcast. We don't have sponsors. I don't want to have sponsors. All that good stuff. But we make money because of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
It puts us out there. The most important thing for me anyway, for us, is that we get to meet a lot of entrepreneurs like you, and obviously that helps with the events that we have. We invite a lot of our guests to be speakers at our retreats and our conferences and things like that, and just kind of brand awareness. And so a lot of times people start and they're not making any money off of it, so they quit. But it's much more than that, and it looks like you feel the same way as well. And so congratulations. It's not easy running the podcast, starting the podcast, all that good stuff, but you're doing it and you're doing it well. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of my business. It's just so much fun to be able to connect with people, and it's something that I never thought that I would enjoy. I just started it because I felt that I needed to create this thing that I couldn't find out there. And I had no idea I would really enjoy it so much, especially the solo episodes and the co-hosted episodes, and of course interviews I love so much.
Good. I wanna kind of focus on this last part of the interview. I want to ask you a few different questions, but towards the end, I want to be able to hear actionable advice that you would offer our audience, and we'll kind of lead you into that here in just a sec. But before going into that, let me ask you this: I consider you an expert in your field, right? A thought leader in what you're doing here. There are a lot of coaches, a lot of thought leaders, a lot of those type of people out there that are putting a lot of good information out there, sometimes bad information out there. Is there a popular belief in your space that you disagree with?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
There must be, right? There must be something.
Um, I'm very much about you need to do what works for you. So I'm not one of those big guru star personalities that say, this is my way, this is the only way. Whenever I talk about people or talk about business mindset to people, whether it's, in blog posts, on my podcast, on my YouTube channel, I always say, look, I can help you get clear on this mindset stuff, but you need to find the best way to work on this for you. And I think one of the things that I disagree with is people that have that cookie cutter approach to this is the only way to do it.
Yes.
Now, I work with people using Psych-K. I might be the best person to help, a particular person with their issues or not. And this technique that I use might be the best technique for them or not. There are so many other ways to do what I do, and you need to find what works for you. There is no one solution.
I completely agree. Good for you. I'm glad you brought that up. There's so many programs, so many workbooks, so many webinars, all that stuff that say these are the steps. But there might be some helpful stuff and stuff that I would like to incorporate into our own business. But there's never, I believe, a cookie cutter way in anything that we're all doing. So good. I'm glad that you think that way. Now this is a little bit more of a personal question. I guess we'll see where it goes. But for you as an entrepreneur, right, what keeps you up at night with your own business or with your own approach to how you do business?
Ooh, ideas. I have so many ideas.
Really?
Oh, God. Yeah. Also, I'm very good at hyper focus. So when I'm focused on a project or something that I'm creating, I just hyper focus on it for a set big chunk of time, and then I sometimes find it hard to disconnect from that when I go to bed. So one of the things that I've been doing, and I started doing it late last year, is what I call workcation weekends, where when I have a big project to do for my business, whether it's working on a book or whatever, creating an online program, I book a hotel, go away, get out of my house, my normal office, my normal working environment,
really?
and it's amazing. It's just transformed my business. So I just check in early, check out late, spend, 2 days hyper focusing on whatever the project is. And then I do find that it's a little difficult for me to go to sleep at night. So that does keep me up, but it's an amazing experience. And it works for me. It's not going to work for everyone, but it's been absolutely transformational for my business. It helps me just get stuff done.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I work from home part-time or so. I mean, we have the podcasting studio and sometimes when we do events, but a lot of the work I do from home, and it's difficult to disconnect sometimes, and it's difficult to stay completely focused. So that is a great idea. I never thought that. Good. And so you find that helps you with the progress with what you're trying to accomplish now?
Yeah, what I do is I do it for a specific project. So again, if
Specific.
it's a
Okay.
book or an online program or something, I don't just go to get work done. I go with the project in mind. I don't do anything else. I delete, I close the email tab on my browser.
That's difficult,
Um,
by the way, for a lot of entrepreneurs, including
yeah,
myself.
yeah. So I get rid of all the distractions, put my phone on airplane mode, don't talk to anyone, don't go on social media. I just, do the research I need to do the project I need, or just focus on the project or whatever it is, but I don't allow myself to get distracted by other things.
I love it. That is probably one of the biggest things that I struggle with. That's good advice. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about overall then, not just for our female entrepreneurs that are listening, but overall for all entrepreneurs that are listening. If you can give us one piece of advice, one thing that you see on a regular basis with your clients or just with you being out there in the world in this space, what can you have us do or think about or anything like that that can help us kind of get to the next level as entrepreneurs?
Hmm. Well, start training your brain to become aware of any stuff that might be holding you back. So, whether it's fears, blocks, limiting beliefs, whatever stuff that you're procrastinating on, train your brain to become aware of it. And I did this when I first trained in Psych K. I just kept a notebook on the side of my desk, and whenever I started to do something, or my coach said, you need to do this thing, or reach out to this person, or whatever, and I got like that tight feeling in my stomach or scary feeling or whatever, I would just make a note of it. And I just the more I trained my brain to write that stuff down, when it came up, the more I became aware of what was going on for me and the stuff that was blocking me from growing my business in a bigger way and really putting myself out there. So it's my number one advice would be train your brain to write this stuff down, whether it's, in a notebook or on your computer or in Evernote or whatever. Become aware of that stuff and then do some kind of work to change your beliefs. Like I said, there's so many ways to do it. You can do NLP, you could do EFT, you can do Psych K, which is what I do. You can do whatever. But I think it's really, really important to do the work to release those fears and change your beliefs at the subconscious level, because that's where you're really going to get the big changes.
When you were in South America and you were working on your projects down there, was I'm sure it's evolved a little bit, but did you have that kind of mindset already, or has this kind of developed afterward or during your time in South America?
No, it's totally developed afterwards, because
After,
when
huh?
I was in when I was in Mexico, when I was in Argentina and Chile, I I was just focused on getting by. I was focused on doing the stuff that I need to do day to day, working with our staff, working with, all the people that, running the business. I was just so stuck in that I was just taking action nonstop. And I didn't, wasn't aware of all of this inner stuff that later on held me back, because the business wasn't just me. It was me and a big team of people.
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, in the high season, we had 150 people working with us in 3 different countries. So, yeah, that was a very, very different experience. And my personal stuff didn't come up because I just had my head down and was working. Yeah, definitely something I became aware of later.
The advice that you gave, that's obviously very valuable, something that we should all be doing, but very hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, are you in a position where this is second nature to you now, or do you still need to focus a little bit more when you're trying to be in that, I don't know, what the happy
Um,
space or whatever you want to call it, right?
hmm. Yeah, well, part of it's on one hand, it's second nature because I'm definitely aware of stuff as it comes up. On the other hand, it does help to work with someone else to have them pick my brain as well, because
Mm.
sometimes I'm so stuck in my head I can't see my stuff. So,
That is true.
I do a lot of Psych K work with myself, but I also do work with other practitioners, whether it's in Psych K or other techniques, because having someone else pick my brain and help me evaluate the situation and see it from a different angle, that helps me see things that I might not be able to see on my own.
I love it. Now, when all of this is said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Oh, as the business mindset alchemist.
Perfect.
and
Perfect.
and I created that kind of title not as a joke, but kind of tongue in cheek, because I actually have this private Facebook group for women who want to explore their mindset stuff. And I call them business mindset alchemists, because this is work that we're all doing. When I work with clients, they're doing the work to change their beliefs. I'm just facilitating the process. we're partners in this whole mindset change. So yeah.
I love what you're doing. I love the enthusiasm. I love the mindset. I love the fact that you're out there trying to help other entrepreneurs get to that place they need to in order to be able to overcome their fears or their obstacles or whatever it is, right? It must not always be fun and it must not always be easy, but there you are and you're making it happen. For that, we applaud you and we're grateful that you've been on the show. For those that are listening now and they want to know more about you or where to sign up or just where to connect with you, where can we find you online?
You can find me at hollyworton.com. That's WORTON. And from there, I've got links to all my social media stuff. So I've got a YouTube channel, I've got my Facebook page where I've got all my videos go up on there as well. Instagram, I mostly use for personal stuff, but I've got that link on my website as well, so people can see what I do when I'm not working.
Perfect.
Yeah, Twitter, all that stuff.
So Outliers, you can go to outliermagazine.co. That's outliermagazine.co. First of all, subscribe to the podcast, rate, review it. But there we're going to have Holly's links to the website, to the social media accounts. Feel free to reach out to her. Obviously, she knows what she's doing. She has this great energy, this great vibe. Reach out to her and connect with her. Hey, Holly, this has been really amazing. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and for sharing your words of wisdom. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Outliers, we'll talk to you tomorrow.